Dr. Yoon Murray checked the medical supplies in her clinic one last time. The storage room was almost empty. Food was running low across Kepler Station. The Zephyrian blockade had been in place for 3 months now. No ships could get through their massive war fleet that surrounded the planet. Captain Jin Sokman watched the alien ships through his command center window. Hundreds of Zephyrian vessels filled the sky above their colony world. Their dark metal hulls blocked out the stars. The aliens had been sending the same message for weeks. They wanted the defense codes for the station. They wanted the supply routes to other human colonies. They wanted humanity to surrender. The humans on Kepler Station had refused every demand. This colony was home to 50,000 people. They had built farms here. They had built schools. They had built lives. The station was more than just a military outpost. It was a home. Ambassador Chen Wei received another message from the Zephyrian fleet. The alien commander wanted to speak with the human leaders. Chen walked to the communication room with heavy steps. She knew this would not be good news. General Thax Vor appeared on the screen. The Zephyrian had 4 arms and gray skin. His eyes were black and cold. He wore the dark uniform of the Zephyrian Empire. Behind him stood rows of Zephyrian soldiers, humans of Kepler Station. Taxvor said in perfect human language, "You have refused our generous offer to surrender. This is your final chance. Give us your defense codes and supply information. Submit to the Zephyrian Empire." Chen looked at the alien general with steady eyes. "We have given you our answer. This is human territory. We will not surrender our home." Thax Vor made a sound that might have been laughter. "You speak of home. You speak of territory. But you are weak. Your species is soft. You care too much about the wrong things." "What do you mean?" Chen asked. "Tomorrow at noon, we will show you the price of defiance. We will teach your species a lesson it will never forget." The screen went black. Chen felt cold fear in her chest. She ran to find Captain Jin and the other leaders. The next morning came too quickly. At 11 o'clock, Zephyrian soldiers landed in the station's central plaza. They moved with military precision. They carried energy weapons and force restraints. The humans watched from their homes and shops. Nobody tried to fight. The aliens had too many ships overhead. The Zephyrian soldiers went to specific buildings. They had a list. They knew exactly who they wanted. Dr. Yoon Mireille was taking inventory in her medical clinic when they came for her. She did not resist. She walked with dignity as they led her away. Teacher Park Sujin was reading to her class of young children when the aliens arrived. She told her students to stay calm. She kissed each child on the forehead before the soldiers took her. Engineer Lee Hae-jin was fixing the water recycling system when they found her. She finished tightening the bolt she was working on. The station would need clean water, no matter what happened to her. All across Kepler Station, the aliens took women, doctors, teachers, engineers, mothers, grandmothers, 70 human women in total. They brought them all to the central plaza where everyone could see. Captain Jin watched from his command post. His hands shook with anger. He had 300 soldiers under his command. But the Zephyrian ships above could destroy the entire station with one blast. He could not save the women without killing everyone. General Thax Vor stood on a platform in the plaza. Zephyrian soldiers had built 70 posts. Each post had a rope hanging from it. The meaning was clear and terrible. "Humans of Kepler Station," Thax Vor announced. His voice carried to every building through the station's communication system. "Your leaders chose defiance. Now you will see the price. These women will die because of your stubbornness." Dr. Yoon Mireille stood straight and proud. Her hands were tied, but her spirit was not broken. She looked at the other women around her. She saw teachers who had shaped young minds. She saw engineers who had built their world. She saw mothers who had raised the next generation of humanity. "We are not afraid," Mireille called out. Her voice was strong and clear. "We are human. We protect what we love. We do not surrender what is right. The other women joined their voices with hers. We are human. We protect what we love. HFY made a gesture. His soldiers moved to carry out the execution. But before they could act, Dr. Mireille spoke again. You think you understand humanity, she said to the alien general. You think we are weak because we care about others. You think we are soft because we show mercy. You are wrong. Wrong. She looked directly into the recording devices that were broadcasting this scene across human space. My people, remember this day. Remember that we died free. Remember that some things are worth more than life. Remember that humanity never gives up. I. And remember, she continued, her voice growing stronger, that for every tear you shed today, our people will answer with justice tomorrow. We do not forget. We do not forgive. We are human. The soldiers carried out their orders. 70 human women died in Kepler Station's central plaza while the galaxy watched. Captain Jin fell to his knees in his command center. His soldiers wept openly. Across the station, humans held each other and mourned. But in their grief, something else was growing. Something cold and determined and absolutely terrible. The Zephyrians had made a mistake. They thought they understood human weakness. They thought they could break human spirit by targeting the innocent. They thought wrong. In the hours after the execution, every human ship in the sector received the same message. It came from Earth itself. The message was simple and short. Operation Galactic Apocalypse is now active. Phase 1 begins immediately. Remember the 70. Remember Kepler Station. Show them what humanity really is. General HFY watched the human colony from his ship. He expected to see surrender. He expected to see broken spirits. Instead, he saw something that confused him. The humans were not panicking. They were not running. They were working together with calm efficiency. He did not understand that he had just awakened the most dangerous force in the galaxy. Human patience, human planning, human love transformed into something that would reshape the stars themselves. The 70 women of Kepler Station were dead, but their sacrifice would light a fire that would burn across the entire Zephyrian Empire. President Kim Namjoon sat in his office on Earth and watched the execution footage for the 10th time. His hands were steady, but his heart was breaking. The screams of the crowd at Kepler Station echoed in his mind. The brave words of Dr. Yoon Mireille would never leave him. The door to his office opened. Admiral Park Jimin entered without waiting for permission. His face was gray with exhaustion and rage. Behind him came Dr. Sarah Okafor, the head of Advanced Weapons Research. She carried a black briefcase that contained humanity's darkest secrets. Mr. President, Admiral Park said quietly, every human fleet commander is asking for orders. They want to attack immediately. They want blood for blood. Kim shook his head slowly. If we attack now with emotion, we lose. The Zephyrians have more ships, bigger guns. They expect us to be angry and stupid. Dr. Okafor set her briefcase on the president's desk. Sir, there is another option. Something we hoped never to use. She opened the case. Inside were data crystals containing research that had been classified above top secret for 50 years. Weapons that could crack planets. Technology that could turn stars into bombs. Sciences that could unravel the basic forces of reality. Operation Galactic Apocalypse, she said simply. Kim had heard whispers of this project. Every human president for the past century had been briefed on it once and told to pray it would never be needed. It was humanity's final option. The weapon of last resort. Explain it to me, he said. Admiral Park pulled up holographic displays that filled the room with images of destruction beyond imagination. For 100 years, our best scientists have worked on this in secret. Not weapons to win wars. Weapons to end civilizations completely. The first image showed a device smaller than a human hand. Quantum, cascade bombs. They don't just destroy matter. They unravel the basic forces that hold atoms together. One bomb can make a planet simply stop existing. The second image showed massive machines in deep space. Stellar manipulation arrays. We can make any star go supernova whenever we choose. Or make it collapse into a black hole. Or turn it into a neutron star that sends out radiation pulses. The third image showed microscopic robots. Self-replicating nanomachines. We can program them to disassemble anything they touch and rebuild it into whatever we want. They can turn an entire planet into a factory, or a bomb, or simply empty space. Kim stared at the images. How many of these weapons do we have? Enough to destroy every Zephyrian world 10 times over, Doctor. Okafor replied. But destruction is not the goal. The goal is to send a message so clear and terrible that no species will ever harm human civilians again. What message? Admiral Park smiled, but there was no warmth in it. That humanity is not weak. That our mercy is a choice, not a weakness. That when we stop being merciful, we become something the galaxy has never seen before. Meanwhile, across human space, a strange thing was happening. Every human military unit received new orders. They were to withdraw immediately from all combat zones. They were to return to defensive positions around human worlds. All attacks on Zephyrian forces were to stop completely. The aliens were confused by this sudden retreat. They had expected desperate revenge attacks after Kepler Station. Instead, human forces simply disappeared from contested space. On the Zephyrian capital world of Zefka Prime, High Commander Vextha celebrated what he saw as total victory. The brutal execution had worked exactly as planned. Humanity was retreating in terror. Send messages to all species in this sector. He ordered his subordinates. Tell them what happened to the humans who defied us. Tell them that the Zephyrian Empire shows no mercy to those who resist. General Thax Vor was promoted for his success at Kepler Station. He received the highest military honor in the Zephyrian Empire. At the ceremony, he boasted that humans were too weak to fight back. Neither Vextha nor Thax Vor understood what was really happening. In secret facilities throughout human space, the most brilliant minds of the species were working with desperate urgency, not to build ships or conventional weapons, but to prepare something that would rewrite the rules of galactic warfare. Dr. Sarah Okafor stood in a laboratory buried deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Around her, thousands of scientists worked on projects that violated every treaty on weapons development. They had 6 months to complete work that should take decades. How long until the nanomachines are ready? She asked her chief engineer. 3 months for the basic models, 6 months for the full planetary conversion systems. And the quantum cascade devices? Ready now. We have enough to sterilize 50 star systems. The stellar manipulation arrays? Installation begins next week. We're putting them around every star in Zephyrian space. They'll never detect them until it's too late. Dr. Okafor nodded. Everything was proceeding according to plan. A plan that had been developed over decades by the most patient and careful minds humanity could produce. President Kim received daily reports on the project's progress. Each report filled him with equal measures of pride and horror. Humanity was capable of such incredible achievements. But they were using those achievements to prepare for systematic genocide. Are we becoming monsters? He asked Admiral Park during one of their meetings. No, sir. Monsters kill for pleasure. We kill for justice. The Zephyrians chose to target innocents. They chose to execute civilians. They chose to commit war crimes. We are simply showing them the consequences of their choices. And after, when the Zephyrian Empire is gone? What happens to all these weapons? And they go back into storage, where they will remain until another species decides to test human mercy. Across the galaxy, Other alien species watched the human retreat with interest. Some saw opportunity to grab human territory. Others wondered if humanity had been defeated without a real fight. None of them understood what was being prepared in the silence. The few alien diplomats who tried to contact human governments found only empty offices. All human ambassadors had been recalled. All communication channels were closed. Humanity had gone silent. This silence terrified some of the wiser alien leaders. They remembered other times when humans had gone quiet before striking back. But their warnings were ignored by species drunk on the apparent human defeat. 6 months after Kepler station, the preparations were complete. Every Zephyrian star system was surrounded by hidden human technology. Every Zephyrian world had been seeded with dormant nanomachines. Every Zephyrian ship was infected with computer viruses that lay waiting for activation codes. President Kim stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface. Around him, the greatest military minds in human history waited for his command. On the screens before them were real-time images of every Zephyrian installation in the galaxy. "Gentlemen and ladies," Kim said quietly, "today, we teach the galaxy a lesson that will last for 1,000 years. Today, we show them what happens when you murder human women and children." He turned to Admiral Park. "Begin Phase 1 of Operation Galactic Apocalypse." Admiral Park pressed a single button. Across the galaxy, the silence ended, and the Zephyrian Empire began to die. Commander Lee Taeyong floated in the darkness between stars, watching the Zephyrian military base through his ship's sensors. His stealth vessel was invisible to their scanners. He had been waiting here for 3 months, just like hundreds of other human commanders throughout Zephyrian space. The message came at exactly midnight Earth time. A single word: begin. Taeyong smiled coldly and activated the first program. Far below on the planet's surface, the Zephyrian base's defense grid suddenly turned its weapons inward. Automated guns that should protect the base began firing at the command center. Shield generators reversed their polarity, creating holes in their own defenses. General Krixtar was eating his evening meal when his base began destroying itself. He ran to the control room and found his officers staring at displays that made no sense. Their own computers were fighting against them. "What is happening?" Krixtar screamed. "Sir, all our systems are infected with some kind of virus. But it's not like any virus we've seen. It's learning. It's adapting. Every time we try to stop it, it changes into something new." Across the base, weapons factories stopped producing ammunition and started making something else. The machines worked with perfect efficiency, but they were building devices that no Zephyrian engineer could identify. This same scene was happening on 40 Zephyrian worlds at the same time. Human sleeper agents who had lived among the aliens for decades suddenly revealed their true purpose. They activated virus programs that had been hiding in alien computer networks for years. Captain Choi Yeonjun commanded a human stealth fleet that materialized around a major Zephyrian shipyard. The aliens detected them too late. But the humans did not attack with conventional weapons. Instead, they broadcast new programming codes directly into every ship in the yard. The Zephyrian vessels suddenly began rebuilding themselves. Their weapons became construction tools. Their armor became manufacturing equipment. Their engines became power sources for projects that served human purposes. The alien workers watched in horror as their own ships turned into something unrecognizable. The vessels were still functional, but they no longer responded to Zephyrian commands. "This is impossible," the shipyard commander gasped. "How can they reprogram our ships from the outside?" His chief engineer was studying the readings with growing fear. "Sir, this isn't normal programming. This is quantum manipulation. They're changing the basic structure of our computer systems at the subatomic level." Dr. Raj Patel worked from a hidden laboratory in an asteroid belt. His team of quantum physicists had spent decades developing weapons that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. When the order came, they activated devices that had been secretly placed throughout Zephyrian space years ago. The nanomachines were so small that even the most advanced Zephyrian sensors could not detect them. They had been drifting through alien atmosphere and water supplies for months, completely dormant. Now they began their work. On the Zephyrian agricultural world of Kethmar, farmers noticed that their crops were growing differently. The plants looked healthy, but they were producing food with modified genetics. The changes were subtle. The Zephyrians would not notice the effects for years. By then, it would be far too late. The nanomachines in the water supply were even more clever. They attached themselves to Zephyrian technology and began making tiny modifications. A screw here became slightly weaker. A wire there developed hidden flaws. Systems that should last for decades would fail at precisely calculated moments. But the most terrifying nanomachines were the ones that did nothing at all. They simply waited, embedded in everything the Zephyrians used. They were bombs that could be triggered by radio signals from Earth. When activated, they would turn every Zephyrian tool, vehicle, and building into a weapon against its users. The Zephyrian military tried to fight back, but they faced an enemy unlike anything they had encountered. Human technology seemed to break every rule of physics and computer science that the aliens understood. On Zefka Prime, High Commander Vextha received reports of the attacks with growing panic. 40 star systems were compromised simultaneously. This was not possible with conventional warfare. "How many human ships are attacking us?" he demanded. "Sir, we detect fewer than 100 human vessels total, but the damage they're causing suggests a fleet of millions. That makes no sense. Explain how 100 ships can cripple 40 star systems." His chief scientist was studying the reports with trembling hands. "Sir, I don't think they're using ships to attack us. I think they're using our own infrastructure against us. They've turned our technology into their weapons." Vextha slammed his 4 fists on the command table. "Find a way to stop them. Use our most powerful weapons. Destroy their homeworlds if necessary. Sir, we tried to fire our planet-killer weapons at Earth. The weapons turned around and targeted our own worlds instead." Answered. End quote. The truth was becoming clear to the Zephyrian leadership. The humans had not simply prepared for war. They had prepared for something far more complete. They were systematically taking control of everything the Zephyrian Empire had built. General Thax Vor, the architect of the Kepler Station massacre, found himself trapped on a base that no longer obeyed his commands. The food processors produced meals that tasted wrong. The air recyclers created atmosphere that felt thick and strange. Even the toilets had been reprogrammed to cause maximum discomfort. This is psychological warfare, he realized. They're not trying to kill us quickly. They're trying to drive us insane. His aide, a younger officer named Zaktor, was monitoring communications. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. It's addressed specifically to you." The message was simple and delivered in perfect Zephyrian language. "General Thax Vor, architect of the Kepler Station atrocity. You killed 70 innocent human women. Now you will learn what it means to be helpless." The screen showed images of Dr. Yoon Mireille and the other executed women. Then it showed the current state of Zephyrian space. Dozens of worlds where nothing worked properly anymore. Millions of aliens living in fear as their own technology turned against them. "This is only the beginning," the message continued. "You wanted to teach humanity about power. Now humanity will teach you about consequences." Commander Lee Taeyong completed his mission and prepared to return to human space. His team had successfully infected 3 star systems with adaptive viruses and nanomachine swarms. But as he powered up his ship's engines, he received new orders. "Proceed to Phase 2 targets. The real work is about to begin." Taeyong looked at the coordinates and felt a chill of anticipation. Phase 2 would target the core worlds of the Zephyrian Empire. The aliens had not yet seen humanity's true capabilities. Back on Earth, President Kim Nam-joon watched the reports from the front lines. The first phase had succeeded beyond even the most optimistic projections. Zephyrian resistance was crumbling not through destruction, but through technological subversion. "How long before they surrender?" he asked Admiral Park. "They won't surrender, sir. Their culture doesn't allow it. They would rather die than admit defeat. Then we'll give them what they want, but not quickly, and not cleanly." They chose to target innocent civilians. They chose to commit atrocities for psychological effect. Now they'll learn that humanity can do the same thing, but with infinitely greater skill. The Admiral nodded grimly. Phase 2 begins tomorrow. Across the galaxy, alien species watched the reports with growing alarm. The humans were not just winning a war. They were demonstrating technological capabilities that seemed impossible. Species that had considered humanity weak began reassessing their opinions very quickly. The Zephyrians had awakened something terrible. Something patient and brilliant and absolutely merciless. They had learned too late that human mercy was a gift, not a weakness. And when that gift was withdrawn, what remained was beyond their ability to comprehend or resist. Dr. Yoon Minji stood in the command center watching the screens that showed Zephyrian space. Her sister, Mireille, had died at Kepler Station 1 year ago. Today, humanity would complete its promise of justice. Admiral Park Jimin stood beside her. "Are you ready for this? Once we activate the quantum cascade network, there will be no going back." Minji nodded, her eyes cold with determination. "My sister and 69 other women died because aliens thought we were weak. Today, they learned the price of that mistake." She pressed her hand against the activation panel. Across 43 star systems, the nanomachines that had been waiting dormantly for months suddenly came to life. On the Zephyrian world of Vextar Prime, the capital city began to change. Buildings that had stood for centuries started reshaping themselves. The molecular assemblers, hidden in their construction materials, activated, following programming that had been installed by human infiltrators. The Great Pyramid that housed the planetary government dissolved into a cloud of gray particles. But the particles did not scatter. They swirled together in precise patterns, rebuilding themselves into something entirely new. Within hours, a massive transmission array rose where the pyramid had been. General Thax Vor watched from his prison cell as his own base transformed around him. The walls became transparent. The floors turned into streams of liquid metal that flowed in complex patterns. Everything he had known was becoming something alien and incomprehensible. "What are you doing to us?" he screamed at the human guards who now controlled his facility. Captain Jean Sockman, now promoted to admiral for his courage at Kepler Station, entered the cell. "We're teaching you about consequences, General. You killed innocent women to prove your power. Now, we're proving ours." Through the transparent walls, Thax Vor could see his entire world being rebuilt. Zephyrian technology was being converted into components of a vast machine that stretched across continents. But it was still Zephyrian technology. The humans were using the aliens' own resources against them. "This is impossible," Thax Vor whispered. "No species has this level of technological control." "You're right," Jin replied. "No other species does. But humans are not like other species. We've been planning this for generations. Every human scientist, every human engineer, every human programmer has contributed something to this moment." On Zefka Prime, High Commander Vextha watched his empire dissolve before his eyes. Reports came in from every corner of Zephyrian space. Their own worlds were being transformed into something else. Their own ships were being converted into construction vehicles that built mysterious structures. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Earth," his communications officer reported with a trembling voice. President Kim Nam-joon appeared on the main screen. Behind him stood the leaders of humanity, their faces showing no emotion. High Commander Vextha. 1 year ago, your subordinate General Thaxvor executed 70 human women. You celebrated this action as a demonstration of Zephyrian power. Vextha tried to project defiance, but fear crept into his voice. Human, we demand that you stop this attack immediately. We are willing to negotiate. Surrender terms. Kim's expression did not change. You misunderstand the situation, Vextha. This is not an attack. This is education. You wanted to teach the galaxy about power through cruelty. Now humanity will teach the galaxy about power through precision. The screen changed to show a three-dimensional map of Zephyrian space. Every world glowed with indicators showing the progress of transformation. Your empire is being converted into a quantum resonance network. When complete, it will serve as a monument to the 70 women you murdered. You cannot do this, Vextha protested. There are billions of Zephyrian civilians on these worlds. Civilian lives matter, Kim agreed. That's why you should not have targeted ours. But don't worry. Your civilians will be preserved. They will become citizens of human space, where they will learn to value mercy over cruelty. Dr. Sarah Okafor monitored the cascade progression from her control room on Earth. The nanomachines were performing exactly as programmed. Every Zephyrian facility was being rebuilt to serve the network's purpose. Status report, she called to her team. Transformation is proceeding on schedule. 43 worlds are currently being converted. Estimated completion time is 72 hours. And the Zephyrian resistance? Minimal. Their technology has been completely compromised. They cannot even communicate between their own bases anymore. What about civilian casualties? 0 deaths so far. The nanomachines are programmed to preserve all organic life. Civilians are being placed in protective stasis until the transformation is complete. This was the crucial difference between human justice and Zephyrian cruelty. The humans could have simply destroyed everything. Their quantum cascade bombs could have sterilized every alien world in minutes. But they chose a more complex path. They were not killing the Zephyrian Empire. They were absorbing it. On the research station where Dr. Raj Patel worked, scientists monitored the most ambitious part of the project. The quantum resonance network was not just a weapon. It was a tool for reshaping reality itself. The network will allow us to manipulate matter and energy on a galactic scale, Patel explained to his team. We can move planets, create new stars, even alter the basic laws of physics in localized areas. All powered by converted Zephyrian technology, his assistant added with satisfaction. They built the tools of their own defeat. Back on Zefka Prime, Vextha made desperate attempts to escape the planet. But every Zephyrian ship had been converted into something else. Their fastest courier vessels were now mobile manufacturing platforms. Their most powerful warships were construction vehicles, building the network. He tried to contact other alien species for help, but found that human agents had been preparing for this possibility too. Every communication was intercepted and rerouted. The galaxy heard only what humanity wanted them to hear. The message that went out to all alien governments was simple and clear. Humanity was demonstrating new levels of technological capability. Any species that supported the Zephyrian Empire would face similar consequences. Any species that remained neutral would be left alone. Any species that condemned the Kepler Station massacre would receive human friendship. Most alien governments immediately chose the third option. General Thaxvor spent his final free hours watching the transformation through his cell's transparent walls. His own military base had become a processing center where Zephyrian technology was broken down and rebuilt into network components. How long have you been planning this? He asked Admiral Jin during one of their conversations. Generations. Jin replied honestly. Every human administration since first contact with alien species has contributed to this project. We hoped never to use it. You forced our hand. But the scale of it, the complexity. How could any species develop such technology In secret, Jin smiled sadly. You still don't understand. This isn't secret technology. This is normal human engineering applied to an extreme problem. We build things. That's what humans do. We build tools, we build machines, we build civilizations. Usually, we build them to help people. Today, we built them to teach a lesson. As the 72nd hour approached, the transformation neared completion. 43 Zephyrian worlds had been completely converted into network nodes. Billions of alien civilians slept safely in stasis pods, while their entire civilization was rebuilt around them. Dr. Yoon Minji stood ready to activate the completed network. This is for you, sister, she whispered to Mirei's memory. The quantum cascade network came online with a pulse of energy that could be detected from neighboring galaxies. In that moment, humanity gained the power to reshape matter and energy on scales that had never been imagined. But they did not use this power to destroy. Instead, they used it to send a message that would echo through the cosmos for millennia to come. Touch human civilians and face consequences beyond your ability to comprehend or survive. 3 years had passed since the execution at Kepler Station. The memorial garden now stood where Dr. Yoon Mirei and 69 other women had died. Admiral Jin Sokmin walked among the flowering trees that had been planted in their honor. Each tree bore a plaque with the name and story of one of the murdered women. Today was different from the anniversary ceremonies of previous years. Today, the surviving Zephyrians would wake up from their protective stasis. Today, they would see what their empire had become. President Kim Nam-joon stood before the assembled leaders of 50 alien species in the rebuilt Kepler Station's Great Hall. The station was now the diplomatic center for this sector of the galaxy. Representatives from across known space had come to witness humanity's final declaration. 3 years ago, Kim began, his voice carrying to every corner of the hall. General Thax Vor of the Zephyrian Empire executed 70 innocent human women in this very place. He did this to demonstrate Zephyrian power, to show the galaxy that humans were weak. The alien diplomats listened with complete attention. They had all seen the footage of Operation Galactic Apocalypse. They knew what humanity was capable of when pushed too far. Today, we complete our response to that atrocity. Today, we show the galaxy what true strength looks like. Kim gestured to the great windows that looked out into space. Beyond them, the 43 worlds of the former Zephyrian Empire glowed with new purpose. Each planet was now a node in the quantum cascade network that gave humanity power beyond imagination. We could have chosen extinction, Kim continued. With the technology we developed, we could have erased every trace of Zephyrian civilization from the universe. Instead, we chose education. The first stasis pods opened on the world that had once been Zefka Prime. Young Zarketh woke to find himself in a clean, bright room that looked nothing like the Zephyrian architecture he remembered. Through his window, he could see a city that seemed to grow like a living thing, its buildings shifting and changing as they rebuilt themselves. A human woman entered his room. She wore the blue uniform of the Terran Federation Medical Corps. Her name tag identified her as Dr. Kim Jenny. "Welcome back to consciousness," she said in perfect Zephyrian language. "I know this must be confusing. You've been asleep for 3 years while we rebuilt your world." Zarketh was only 17 years old. He had been a student when the war began. "What happened to my family? What happened to our government?" Dr. Kim's expression was kind but firm. "Your civilian population is safe. Your government and military leadership are imprisoned but alive. Your empire no longer exists. You are now citizens of human space." "Slaves, you mean?" Zarketh said bitterly. "No, citizens. There is a difference. Slaves are property. Citizens have rights and responsibilities. You will learn both." Across the former Zephyrian Empire, Millions of aliens woke to find their worlds transformed but themselves unharmed. Human administrators explained the new reality with patience and firmness. The Zephyrian civilians would be integrated into human society, but they would first learn why their empire had been destroyed. Admiral Jin Sokman visited the memorial garden every day. Today, he found young Zarketh sitting beside Dr. Yoon Mirai's memorial tree. The young Zephyrian was reading the inscription that told her story. "She was a doctor," Zarketh said quietly. "She helped people." "Yes," Jin replied, sitting on the bench beside him. "She saved thousands of lives during her career. She developed new treatments for diseases that affected both humans and aliens." Why did General Thaxvor kill her? Because he wanted to frighten humanity into surrendering. He thought that murdering innocent people would break our will to fight. Zarketh looked up at the Admiral with confusion in his eyes. "But you didn't surrender. You destroyed our entire empire instead." "We did what was necessary to ensure this never happens again," Jin said carefully. "Your people chose to target civilians. They chose to commit atrocities. We chose to respond with overwhelming force. But you let us live. You could have killed all of us. But you didn't." Jin nodded. "That's the difference between justice and revenge, Zarketh. Revenge seeks to cause pain. Justice seeks to prevent future harm. We took away your empire's ability to hurt innocents, but we preserved your lives because individual Zephyrians are not responsible for their government's crimes." The young alien struggled to understand. "In our culture, showing mercy to defeated enemies is considered weakness. In human culture, showing mercy is considered strength. It takes more courage to spare a life than to take one. It takes more wisdom to build than to destroy." General Thaxvor remained in his prison cell on the world he had once commanded. His base had been converted into a rehabilitation center where former Zephyrian military officers learned about human concepts of ethics and law. Today, he received an unexpected visitor. Dr. Yoon Minji, sister of the woman he had murdered, stood outside his transparent cell. "I killed your sister," he said bluntly. "Why haven't you killed me?" Minji studied his face for a long moment. "Because killing you would not bring her back. And because someone must survive to tell future generations what happens when innocents are murdered. Your people turned my entire empire into a weapon. You destroyed everything we built. We transformed what you built into something useful. Your technology now serves the quantum cascade network that protects civilian populations throughout this sector. Your resources now support medical research and peaceful exploration." Thaxvor laughed bitterly. "You speak of peace while demonstrating the power to destroy galaxies. Peace through strength?" Minji replied. "Every species in known space now understands what happens when humans are pushed too far. They also understand that we prefer cooperation to conflict. The choice is theirs." In the Great Hall of Kepler Station, President Kim concluded his address to the galactic community. "Today, we release new protocols for the protection of civilian populations during conflicts. Any species that targets innocents will face the same fate as the Zephyrian Empire." The alien representatives signed the new treaties without hesitation. They had seen humanity's capabilities. They had no desire to test them personally. "But we also offer partnership to any species that shares our values," Kim continued. "The quantum cascade network can be used for beneficial purposes. We can move planets to more suitable orbits. We can create new habitable worlds. We can provide clean energy on unlimited scales." Ambassador Chen Wei, now serving as humanity's chief diplomatic officer, presented the first partnership agreements to 3 alien species that had condemned the Kepler Station massacre from the beginning. Years passed. Young Zarketh grew up in human space, learning engineering at the university built on his homeworld. He excelled at his studies and eventually became part of the team that maintained the quantum cascade network. One day, he asked his human supervisor a question that had been troubling him. "Why do you trust us to work on such powerful technology? We were your enemies. Dr. Sarah Okafor, now elderly but still sharp, smiled at the question. Because you learned the lesson we wanted to teach. You understand that power must be used responsibly. You understand that strength without wisdom leads to destruction. What lesson? That mercy is not weakness. That justice is not revenge. That true strength comes from the choice to build rather than destroy. Zarketh thought about this for a long time. My people called humans weak because you showed compassion. And what do you think now? I think humans are the strongest species in the galaxy. Strong enough to forgive. Strong enough to teach instead of simply punish. Strong enough to transform enemies into allies. The memorial garden on Kepler Station became a pilgrimage site for beings from across the galaxy. They came to see the trees planted for 70 murdered women. They came to understand the price of targeting innocence. They came to learn about the species that could reshape reality itself, but chose to use that power to teach rather than destroy. Dr. Yoon Miray's tree grew the tallest of all. Beneath it, a simple inscription captured the lesson that had reshaped galactic civilization. She died free so that others might live free. She died with courage so that others might find courage. She died human so that the galaxy might learn what humanity truly means. The Zephyrian Empire was gone forever, but in its place stood something greater. A galactic community united by the understanding that some lines must never be crossed, and that those who cross them face consequences beyond their ability to imagine or survive. Humanity had kept its promise. Justice had been served, and the galaxy would never again mistake human mercy for human weakness.